So if you like those number one overall seeds, man, this is your dream come true in the Final Four. The higher-seeded teams went 12-0 in the regional semifinals. If that seems pretty wild, that seems pretty crazy. It's the first time since the tournament expanded back in 1985 that this has ever happened. And so Auburn is joined by Florida, Duke, and Houston. All the top seeds have advanced, and let us discuss the question for the esteemed panel. So we have all number one seeds in the Final Four. Is this a positive or is this a negative situation? So I've got common denominator, hemoglobin, and peacock. And we will combine all of these things together, and we are going to make a televangelist on TV. For some reason, one of the TVs here, I don't know who's into televangelism, but one of the people, I come in here, there's a televangelist on the TV right in front of me. Yeah, that's wild, man. All right, I guess somebody's really going for it. All right, anyway, see, is it a positive or a negative? So I am in team positive. I'm on the side of positivity. I'm Benny Brightside on having all four number one seeds into the Final Four. These teams, unless I'm mistaken, backed up the fact that the selection committee and all the nerd stats and everything was accurate, that these were the four most deserving teams of getting there. They were the top seeds during the college basketball season. They earned that right. And so the Gators, the Blue Devils, the Cougars are coming, and the Tigers validating what they did during the regular season. And before there was panic at the disco about other things in college basketball, now it's all about NIL, name, image, and likeness and all that. And I would advise you to just take a breath. Just take a deep breath, breathe in, right? This is the first time, now NIL's been around for a few years. This is the first time that all the top seeds have reached the Final Four since way back in 2008. And there was no NIL in 2008. The only other time that all the number one seeds got to the Final Four was back then in 2008. They've been doing this type of tournament since 1979. The common denominator in all this is the Alamo Dome, the venue. Because in 2008, the Final Four, which at that year had Kansas, you had Memphis, North Carolina, and UCLA, and that was held at the Alamo Dome. That's the common denominator there in San Antonio, and that drew solid but not spectacular ratings, as I recall. The ratings were fine. They were not amazing. Now, page 2. In terms of popularity, how would you rank the teams that we will see here next weekend in San Antonio in the Final Four? So now this is not a list. This is a big board, which is not a list. It's Big Ben's big board in terms of the haves and have-nots. Well, they're all haves. They're all number one seeds and all that stuff. This is a chalky McChalk Final Four. Chalky McChalk Final Four. So we know that going in. But you look at the hemoglobin. And so it's really 1 against 3. And here's how I break it down. So it's all about the blue bloods. It's all about the blue bloods. And there is a difference. Now, the term chalk, if you're not familiar, so I hear that term chalk, but I don't really know what it means. What does it mean? Explain what it means. I'll explain what it means. So the term chalk, I think we used this on the Fifth Hour podcast months and months ago, but the term chalk is a well-known term for the team that is favored. It's a dated term. It goes back to the days when horse racing dominated the landscape in America. And the team that's the favorite now is called the Chalk, and they're expected to win. And the origin dates back to when people really loved horse racing, and they didn't have digital screens and computers and all that stuff. Those things didn't exist. And so the bookmaker, as in that long-forgotten era, the bookmaker would actually have these chalkboards like you're in class in elementary school, and they'd display the odds for each horse. And if you've ever been to the track and bet the ponies, you know that the odds shift, especially depending on the favorites and the amount of money and what the action is from the bettors. And so what would end up happening with the chalk, the bookies would erase and then have to rewrite the odds with chalk because it was a chalkboard, leaving the favorite smudged, right? You have a little smudge there and all that stuff covered in chalk dust because of all the many updates throughout the day before the race happens. But in terms of the blue bloods, there is a creepy pasta party of one situation going on here. It is really just the Blue Devils. That's it, right? That's it. The Blue Devils, they're the only blue blood, even though it's all chalk. They stand head and shoulders above. Duke is the one that meets the criteria here. Program that, if you think about what is a blue blood, well, you're considered top of the class in your industry, in your sport, and you've done it for a long time. You've got a storied history of success. You have a lot of people that hate your guts. That's Duke. Does anyone really hate Auburn basketball or Houston basketball or even Florida Gator basketball? Nah, not really. But Duke, there are many people that will watch just to see Duke lose. And that means you have reached a higher air, if you will, here. And you've had iconic coaches. Well, they had one, Coach K, that lasted for like 80 years at Duke, it seemed. And he was there forever. And there are a lot of players that you wanted to punch, like that podcaster, J.J. Redick. And you go through the history of the school. There have been many many of them flopped in the NBA, but they were legit college players at the time, and you have an annoying fan base. You also would like to punch them. So Duke meets all of that. Duke hits all that criteria. So they're the only blue blood. Florida's had some success. Under Billy Donovan, they won a couple of championships, and so they had their little run of success back in the day, but not consistently sustained success. And Houston, with Hakeem Olajuwon back in the day, for a couple years, they were amazing, but for the most part, not so much. And Auburn, in the round mound of rebound Charles Barkley days a long time ago, in a land far, far away, also pretty good. That's pretty good. But not most of the time, they're in the middle. It's kind of in the middle. That's the way it is. And so you got one blue blood, and then you got three others kind of standing out to the side. Now, the last word here. So we are heading to the final 3 games of the college basketball season, reaching the crescendo, which is Saturday and then Monday night, the championship game. So we are at the point now where you start to re-examine everything. So, question, thumbs up or thumbs down? Should you be allowed to take a bow if you had all 4 number 1 seeds in the Final Four bracket? If your bracket is alive and well and you have all 4 number 1 seeds, thumbs up or thumbs down, should you be allowed to take a bow? All right, that is the question. What is the answer? And so I'm actually going to go on this one. I am going to go thumbs up on this. Okay, I'm going to go thumbs up on this, and here's why. I think you should be able to strut around like a peacock with your feathers out and all that. And the reason why is because you stood your ground, okay? You stood your ground, and while others likely tried to sway you, and we've talked about this in the past, there's pick shaming when it comes to filling out your bracket. You've got to pick some small school, nobody you, as Gottlieb likes to call it. You've got to pick some crap school to get far in the tournament. If you don't, you're a bad person. And if you pick all chalk, you say, well, you don't know anything you do. You have no idea. And yet, here we are. It actually takes more guts to pick all the top seeds than you would think. All right, so you can strut around like a peacock. Humans are hardwired to go with groupthink. Right? We saw that back during the pandemic. A lot of bad advice from people in power, but a lot of people just followed along because it was groupthink. You're supposed to just follow along and not push back against the machine. But the people that picked all number 1 seeds did not bend to peer pressure, right? They did not bend to peer pressure, and so good. And studies show oftentimes people in any group will take the advice of others, and they will do things even when they know it's wrong because they don't want to resist. They don't want to resist the popular opinion and all that stuff, and so they want to be part of that. But if you take the favorites, which is what, if you have 4 teams left in your bracket, you've taken all the favorites. If you take the favorites, you are mocked, you are ridiculed. Like, what are you doing? But the odds on having a perfect bracket, picking the top seeds in the tournament, are minuscule. In fact, since 1979, all 4 favorites, meeting the number 1 seeds in the tournament, have made the Final Four 4.3% of the time, which is actually just 2 times. 2 times, that's it. And what are we looking at here? Going back to 79, so that's 46 years of data. And it's only happened twice. All right, it is the Ben Maller Show. If you want to comment on any of this, you are more than welcome. And there's plenty of other things going on if you're not into the whole college basketball scene. It is a big week for NFL drama-o-rama, boardroom style, well, actually resort style, as the NFL owners get together at a swanky resort in Florida, the Billionaires Boys Club, and they will all go over the rules of the game while they're eating their 5-star ham and egg breakfast. And they'll just be having a field day there for the next couple of days.